Welcome to a chilling journey into one of America's strangest homes. In this video, we'll explore why the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California has puzzled architects, historians, and ghost hunters for over a century. From staircases that climb straight into ceilings to doors that open onto nothing but air, this 160-room mansion was built by a grieving widow who believed her family was cursed. Was she haunted or just heartbroken? Let's dive in.
A widow's grief. Sarah Winchester was born into comfort in New Haven, Connecticut, and married into one of the wealthiest families in America. Her husband, William Wirt Winchester, was heir to the Winchester Repeating Arms Company, the maker of the rifle that helped win the American West. But wealth couldn't protect her from tragedy. In 1866, Sarah's infant daughter died just weeks after birth. 15 years later, in 1881, William himself died of tuberculosis. In the span of one devastating year, Sarah had lost her husband, her father-in-law, and her mother, all within months of each other. Grief-stricken and alone, Sarah reportedly turned to a spiritualist for answers, a practice that was common among grieving families in that era. According to popular legend, the medium delivered a chilling message. The spirits of everyone ever killed by a Winchester rifle were angry, and they were coming for the Winchester family next. The only way to survive, Sarah was told, was to build them a home and never stop building it. Whether that meeting ever truly happened the way legend describes it is still debated by historians.
But what's certain is this. Shortly after, Sarah packed up and moved 3,000 miles away to a quiet farmhouse outside San Jose, California. And she began to build. A house that never stopped. The property Sarah bought in 1886 was a modest 8-room farmhouse. By the time she died in 1922, 36 years later, it had grown into a sprawling 160-room mansion covering 6 acres of land. Construction reportedly continued around the clock, 7 days a week for decades. Workers came and went in shifts, some building walls in the morning that would be torn down and rebuilt differently by evening. There was no master blueprint. Sarah is said to have sketched her ideas on scraps of paper, tablecloths, even the backs of envelopes, handing them to her carpenters with no explanation. The result is a house that defies logic. There were 2,000 doors and 10,000 windows. Some hallways are barely wide enough for one person to pass through, while others open into ballrooms big enough for hundreds. Rooms lead into other rooms with no clear pattern, and hallways double back on themselves like a maze built by someone who never wanted to be followed. Doors, stairs, and dead ends. Nowhere is the house's strangeness more obvious than in its staircases and doorways. One staircase inside the mansion climbs 7 full steps, then simply stops, dead-ending directly into the ceiling above. Another set of stairs descends into the floor below it, with no door, no room, and no explanation waiting at the bottom. Doors are just as unsettling. Guests on tours are shown a door on the 2nd floor that opens directly onto open air, with nothing but an 8-foot drop into the kitchen sink below. Another door swings open to a 15-foot fall straight into the garden hedges outside. There's even a closet door that, when opened, reveals a second, smaller door built into the back wall, leading nowhere at all. Local legend has long claimed that these dead-end doors and backward staircases were deliberately designed to confuse the vengeful spirits chasing Sarah, trapping them in an endless architectural puzzle they could never escape. Some historians push back on this theory, pointing out that many of these oddities were simply the result of decades of remodeling, rooms sealed after earthquake damage, or additions built around existing walls without much planning. Either explanation you choose, walking through the house today still feels like moving through someone else's fractured dream. The number that followed her everywhere. If there's one detail that convinces even skeptics something unusual was going on in Sarah's mind, it's her fixation on the number 13. The mansion contains 13 bathrooms, and the 13th bathroom alone has 13 windows. Many of the staircases have exactly 13 steps. Several ceilings are built with 13 panels, and certain stained glass windows are cut with 13 individual panes of glass. Even the chandelier in the grand ballroom was modified to hold 13 candles instead of its original 12. When Sarah finally wrote her last will and testament, she divided it into exactly 13 parts and signed her name 13 separate times. To many, this looks like more than coincidence. In the era Sarah lived in, the number 13 was widely associated with death and misfortune. Some believe she used it almost like a charm, weaving it into the house again and again as quiet protection against whatever she feared was coming for her.
Midnight in the Seance Room. At the heart of the mansion sits a small, strange chamber known today as the Seance Room. It has only one way in, but 3 ways out, including one hidden door disguised as an ordinary closet. According to longtime legend, Sarah retreated here every night at precisely midnight. She would ring a small bell to summon the spirits, then sit alone for hours, supposedly receiving instructions on exactly how the house should be built the following day. By morning, she would hand her carpenters new sketches, and construction would begin again exactly where it left off. Whether Sarah was truly communicating with the dead, or simply working through grief and insomnia in the quietest room she could find, no one can say for certain. But staff and visitors today still describe an unusually heavy, watchful feeling the moment they step inside.
The night the house fought back. On April 18, 1906, San Francisco was struck by one of the most devastating earthquakes in American history, and the Winchester House, 60 miles south, was caught directly in its path. Sarah was trapped for hours inside the front bedroom, later named the Daisy bedroom for its floral stained glass windows, after the earthquake collapsed the room's exit. Her servants eventually had to pry her free with a crowbar. The quake was so violent, it toppled the mansion's entire 7-story observation tower, reducing the house from 7 stories down to the 4 it stands at today. Sarah reportedly took this as a message. She believed the spirits were displeased that construction had moved too close to completion near the front of the house. In response, she ordered the damaged front section sealed shut completely and never allowed it to be repaired. To this day, cracked plaster and torn wallpaper from that exact night remain untouched inside the Daisy bedroom, frozen in place for over 100 years.
Grief? Or genius? Or something else entirely? For decades, paranormal researchers and historians alike have debated the real reason Sarah Winchester never stopped building. The popular legend paints her as a woman haunted into madness, trapped in an endless architectural ritual to outrun vengeful ghosts. But a growing number of historians offer a very different theory. Sarah was, by all accounts, deeply intelligent, fiercely private, and the daughter of a skilled woodworker who passed his passion for design down to her. In an era when women were rarely permitted creative or professional independence, building may have been the one outlet where Sarah had complete control. Rather than a woman being chased by ghosts, she may simply have been a brilliant, grieving architect who found peace only when she was creating. Both explanations exist side by side today, and the house itself never quite settles the argument. It is, in its own way, a physical structure built directly on top of ambiguity, a home that feels simultaneously like a fortress against spirits and a monument to one woman's unstoppable imagination.
A house still becoming. After everything you've just heard, would you spend the night alone inside the seance room? Today, the Winchester Mystery House remains one of the most visited oddities in America, drawing architecture lovers, ghost hunters, and curious travelers from around the world, all hoping to walk a staircase to nowhere, open a door to nothing, or feel that same cold, watchful presence guests have described for 100 years. If you enjoyed this journey into one of the strangest homes ever built, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more chilling stories. Stay curious, and maybe think twice before opening the wrong door.